Hello and welcome back to the AL Central Rundown. I'm Eric, and it's spring training day, and I've done our introductions with a little bit of a theme. With me today is Dan, who is in the best shape of his life. Lee has been working on a new pitch. Ty thinks he can truly contend this year. Sam is starting this episode on the IL. You will notice he's not actually here. And then I am just hoping I can latch onto a 40-man roster somewhere. We've done it, everyone. It's spring training. How exciting.
Oh yeah, and the weather is starting to match spring training. It's fine. The snow is finally melting. It was like 45 degrees on Tuesday. It was amazing.
Excited for 45 degrees. And the Tigers are in Florida right now. I get
Break
you.
out the shorts. It's 45 degrees outside.
So you,
Yeah,
Not
it's
really.
short weather.
Not
I
really.
take out the dog, and I just wore a sweatshirt and shorts this morning and it was like 30 degrees. I was that kid in college, guys. Sorry. But no, it's pitchers and catchers reported this week. We have some news to go over, including Justin Verlander has a reunion with the Tigers. Again, we did another emergency episode. It's becoming a thing on Wednesday where we went 40 minutes talking about Justin Verlander. Lee, I don't think, was in a very analytical mood because she was too busy gushing and nostalgic. But there is 40 minutes of that. And then about 2 minutes after we ended recording, unfortunately, a very predictable injury happened that Reese Olson is going to miss the 2026 season. So we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a second. But oh, it feels nice. Super Bowl's over. I think the Seahawks won.
Yeah, they did. It
Everybody
was kind of a
universe,
beatdown.
everybody universally loved Bad Bunny and the Kid Rock halftime show. Nobody hated those at all. And now it's baseball season, so it's exciting now. So why don't we just start it? We're gonna talk news, and then we have our off-season grades for everyone. But let's start off with the Tigers because it's for sure the biggest name the division has signed this year. Even though you can kind of
Quality
use
wise.
it's it's not past tense Justin Verlander, but he is back with the roster. Lee,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yep, Justin Verlander reunited with the Tigers. This is something we've wanted for so long. Like it's been like 5 years that people have been like, we should get Justin Verlander back. But no, he's back. It's a 1 year, $13 million deal with 11 of it deferred until 2030 because Chris Ilitch discovered you can defer money, I guess. But it's not about the money for Verlander. He wanted to come back to Detroit. It's like a thing. Like last season, apparently he reached out and the Tigers were like not interested, and then they gave $15 million to Alex Cobb to do nothing. But yeah, this was a very much an emergency. Reese Olson went down, and so we signed a starter to replace him, and it was Verlander. So very exciting, just mostly for the nostalgia, right? If we had signed some other random 43-year-old who had it wouldn't be as exciting, but it's Justin Verlander, so it's very exciting. But I mean, he really wasn't that bad last season. I mean, 3.85 ERA. That's not horrible. And like the last half of the season, he had like a 2.65 or something. So
I would say he had good results. I think he had mixed reviews as far as like underlying and expected predictive stats are not as thrilled on him. But again, he's 43 years old.
yeah, it's the underlying stuff doesn't really matter as much when you're 43 and you're still pitching. Like it's just with the fact that he's still hitting 94 on his fastball. He's good enough that he can still hit at a high level. So I think that's impressive on its own. And apparently there was some stuff that came out from someone from the Giants. I forget who it was, so I don't want to name any names. But I guess he had said that like at the All-Star break there was like some mechanical changes or like some health thing that cleared up for Verlander, and that's why he got so much better after the All-Star break because he went he was one of the best starters in the league after the trade deadline. So there is something still in there. Am I going to be slightly concerned that he might break a hip walking off the mound? Sure, but I mean, he pitched more than Casey Mize did last season. He pitched more than Reese Olson did last season.
Yep. Well,
He's always been a very durable guy.
and
So
they're not paying him to be more than the number 3 starter. He doesn't need to be it. He doesn't need to be first ballot Hall of Fame Justin Verlander. He just needs to be fungible. He needs to be a fifth starter. That's it.
Yes. He needs to be a fifth starter. And if they need to, add in a sixth starter to give him an extra day or two off every once in a while, that's fine because we have lots of depth, and it's just him being there is going to be huge. He's 43, he's played in this league for going on 21 years. So you take all of our young guys, you take Reese Olson and Troy Melton and Jackson Jobe when they're in the dugout, you say, go sit next to Justin Verlander, and you take his bag and you listen to all the things he has to say. So that will be hugely valuable as well.
Yeah. Dan and Ty, haven't gotten your thoughts on him.
I'd be curious if this would have happened had Olsen not gotten hurt. I can't imagine that this, came together in 12 hours or whatever. But also they probably knew Olsen, his future this year was unsure. So it could have been a situation where they'd been talking for a while and the opportunity arose. But that part of it interests me. But secondarily, you look at the two additions that Detroit made in the last couple of weeks. Both pitchers with experience pitching in October, and a lot of it. You think Detroit's serious about winning a World Series? Well, there's two exhibits A and B that they are. So I know Verlander. Will he even pitch in October this year? Will he get that far? Will he be healthy? Will he be effective? I don't know, but the intent is there. And as Lee was mentioning a moment ago, there's a lot that can be learned from that guy just being in the clubhouse, in the dugout, etc. So, I think it's an interesting move, and I think it's a solid one.
I do think if you were concerned about Valdez being a issue in the clubhouse, Verlander has been on a staff with him. AJ Hinch has been his manager. That's a good counterbalance to have. Was that the intention of them signing him? No, but that does kind of at least.
Does it hurt?
Yeah, it addresses a situation that might occur.
Also, another part of this is just from the perspective of for Skubal and Verlander and Valdez specifically, it takes so much attention off them. So the whole year we're going to be talking about Skubal's free agency, obviously, but that's not going to be the only story. And the whole year we'll still be talking about Valdez and his personality issues, but that's not going to be the whole story because it's also going to be Verlander back in Detroit all season. So it just takes a little bit of the pressure off. And Skubal was because he was asked about it, and he's like, oh, I'm getting goosebumps just being in the same clubhouse as Justin Verlander, So it's Skubal's still going to be the number one guy. He's still going to be the top guy, but he's not got all of the cameras on him all the time anymore. And I think that, he likes to be the center of attention when he's on the mound, but I think it's something to taking a little bit of the pressure off, from media's perspective.
I will add. Ultimately, I had him going to the Tigers in my free agent pick'ems.
There you go.
Not saying anything, but it doesn't surprise me, and I think it was a really good move for not only the club but for the player. If he does have this be his last year and retire a Tiger, I think this is the perfect way to go out when they're in the middle of a playoff run. No offense, Lee. Not sure how much better they're going to be next year compared to this year if they don't keep Skubal. So, if this was the time to do it. And I do want to say, to Dan's point, you mentioned, I don't know how good he'll be or if he'll last to October. If I'm the Tigers clubhouse, if I'm the admin, I'm making sure you don't pitch August, you don't pitch September, as long as you're pitching in the postseason. That's what this move is. I'm just my opinion. So congratulations, Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guarantee and Sam, who's not on the recording, he alluded to it in our Discord chat when he saw it. It was he's going to get an injury in the middle of June and just skip a rotation or two. And then that same injury might flare up in August for a week or two, and then he'll be fine,
we have enough depth in the starting position zone that if he needs to take a week or two off, we can put in guys.
I don't know what you need to knock on, but you just had a pitcher go down the entire year, and you're saying you have plenty of pitching depth. So I get what you're saying.
A lot of guys, man.
Has Skubal gone down for a long time yet?
Skubal?
Yeah.
He went down for a year back in. He got injured at the middle of 2022, had to get elbow surgery, and then came back about a year later, end of 2023.
And
that was 2022 was the year where we all of our pitchers got injured. I'm not joking.
And Valdez has had a great track record for staying healthy, huh? All right, no more comments.
All right.
That was before Tarek Skubal really became Tarek Skubal that he got hurt,
That's
right?
true.
Like he was promising and interesting, but he wasn't kind of well-renowned in the league as yet. I had forgotten about that.
Part of the thing was in 2022, I'm not joking, we lost all of our starting pitchers. Like in the week after the All-Star game, we lost 3 starters in a week. Because this was Skubal's third year, and he was ramping up, and we were starting to see really good stuff, and he was the only one left, and then he got injured, and it was just a really deflating moment in the season that kind of already sucked, but he was starting to get so much better. And then I guess he's talked a lot about how his changeup specifically, he did a lot of work when recovering and getting healthy again. He did a lot of work retooling his changeup and that kind of thing. So, but yeah.
Again, congratulations, Lee. I would if I was a Tigers fan, I would want nothing more.
It's really the closest I have is Torrey Hunter coming back to the Twins in 2015, and just to see pictures of him and Byron Buxton was really cool. And Justin Verlander is another level above what Torrey Hunter ever was.
We got Tarek Skubal and Justin Verlander in the same dugout. That's it's so exciting. There were someone or a group of people paid for a bunch of billboards around Detroit with "Welcome back, Justin" and stuff like that. It cannot be overstated how excited people are, because even the crotchety old guys who are oh, they did it, everyone is happy that Verlander is back in Detroit, because it's just an exciting thing to happen, and he's one of, if not the best pitcher Detroit has ever had. So it's very fun. I mean, whose games are gonna sell out more, Skubal's or Verlander's at Comerica? And I did want to mention, though, it's very interesting. This is not a pure PR move. Some of it, sure, they're gonna sell so many tickets and all that, but if this was a PR move, they would have done this last year, or they would have done this in November, because apparently Verlander reached out as soon as the season ended last season. Verlander reached out to AJ and Illich and Harris and was like, "I want to be on the Tigers again," but they just weren't interested. So, yeah.
Right.
That answers my question.
Do we want to talk about Reese Olson for just a hot minute?
If not, we have a whole year before we have to talk about him again. So
yeah, this is kind of a bummer. It's the shoulder thing again. He had to get shoulder surgery on February 2nd. I guess they were trying to rehab it, but it just wasn't healing right, and it just got set back. So they just went for the surgery, and it was a thing where they could have gotten the surgery in October, November, but he still wouldn't be back in time for the season. So and he's had issues with this before. He went down with a shoulder injury in 24 as well. And so I'm hoping that, they do the surgery, he rehabs, he comes back, and then doesn't have issues with it after that. But, we'll have to see. I'm just really worried that he's made of glass, That would kind of suck, because he's so good, but he just can't stay healthy.
Labrum's a really tough injury to have as a pitcher. I mean, it's up there with Tommy John, so I don't know. It's one of those, Tommy John, it seems like they've kind of solved. Labrum and thoracic outlet, it's not a crapshoot what you get back, but it really is career altering. So I don't know, we'll see. How old is he?
He's on the young side. I think he's 25.
Yeah, he is 26. Going to be 27 next year, so he still has time. Not for nothing, he's going to be he's going to be on the major league, on the 40-man roster on the 60-day IL. So he's still going to get a major league paycheck. So at least he's got that going for him.
Yeah, hope he can come back. It just sounds it's so weird because everyone's like sucks that Olsen's back, but don't get Verlander without Olsen getting injured. So it's kind of a weird.
I still think you can pull that trigger with Olsen. I do think there's a definite connection between the injury and Verlander signing, but there's no reason you still can't sign Verlander.
Yeah, I just don't think it would have happened because they weren't interested in back in November.
No.
So what?
My last comment on the issue, I will say, if all the underlying metrics are pointing down, I don't think anyone's paying him what he would realistically want. Mm-hmm. I think if Detroit doesn't sign him, I don't think he resigns. I think he retires.
No,
there's also the opportunity that if at some point just entropy happens, guys get hurt. Somebody onto the Tigers roster, the starting rotation, was going to get hurt at some point. It's going to happen to all of this league. I'm not putting bad juju on the Tigers this time. But like, it's going to happen.
You could though. You
could
definitely do that.
They could have been ready to pick up the phone and call Verlander, whether it was Olsen or if it was somebody else in May. Right. As long as Verlander was staying in shape, I guess is the second half of that.
Not for nothing. They have a former Tiger doing that exact thing. Max Scherzer is going to probably sign after opening day. So wouldn't that also be fun? I hope the Tigers don't have another injury, but like that would be a fun rotation to have Scherzer, Framber, Skubal, and Verlander. But
is Verlander or Scherzer your 4 and 5? How does that work?
That's a heck of a sentence, isn't it?
Yeah. I think you're right though, Ty, because in his press conference, Verlander said he didn't want to be a mercenary. Like he wanted to play with teams that meant something to him. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's not going to really. He said he's going to take it by year in terms of like health and longevity and stuff. But he also just doesn't want to bounce around to like random teams just to try and like grind out 300 wins. If his body is telling him no, then he's just going to stop. But yeah. So I think I'll kind of stop there. So I don't want to get too long on this because there's so much more.
Except for anyone who is interested, we did spend 40 minutes talking about Verlander. So there's that episode. That's just before this one. So go click on that after you're finishing listening to this one. So I think we can move on because there has been some signings. There was kind of like a mad dash of signings over the last week. A lot of them minor league signings, a few major league signings that we'll talk about. The first one, the White Sox picked up their old Justin Verlander type, right? It's in the same. Okay, it's Eric Fetty. I'm sorry. Maybe
it's in not the same atmosphere, but not the same stratosphere.
I still think that's generous.
What I'll say is, at some point, so he went over to KBO. He came back. He signed with us for the I believe it was the 1-year contract, or 1 or 2 years, whatever it was. Seeing him come back to us, if we're just recapturing that form of the first half of 2024, cool. Sounds good. I think this is a low risk, high benefit, medium benefit. The other thing I want to call out here is that what I really love about this move is Anthony K. We're trying to do the same exact thing with him that we did with Fetty. To have someone who just went through this not more than 2 years ago on the squad with you, I believe will genuinely help one, if not both, of the players. So just calling that out.
So is he coming on as a starter? Is he going to be?
I would assume he would be stretched out as a starter if for some reason during spring training there are other younger kids that win the starting spots. Because they're right now rumored 3 different people are being stretched out to start. I think he'll end up as our 4 or 5. I don't think it's unreal. Yeah. I don't think it's believable that it wouldn't be that.
It's $1.5 million.
Right.
And you get what you pay for, right? It's $1.5 million.
I disagree, Eric. The last 3 years or whatever, this has been the money that we were giving to Clevinger, and I would 100% rather give it to Fetty. No further comment.
Worst case scenario looks like he just gives you innings.
Right, exactly, 100%. We've got a lot of young arms coming off of injuries from last year, so just making sure that we're not, ruining any of these arms before we really need them in our competitive window in 27, 28. I think, like I said, low risk, and I think he'll end up being part of the team. Whether good, no good or no bad, just he's there, he's eating innings, he's doing what he's being paid to do.
Sure. I disagree a little bit with that because, like, what I said, I didn't necessarily mean is like you pay with what you're getting a fifth starter for $1.5 million. Clevenger is washed. I suspect Fetty might be. Is it Fetty or Fed? Am I mixing that up?
I've always heard it as Fetty.
Okay, good. I got a name right, everyone. I did it. It's just I think for $1.5 million, it's hard to get lower. You're familiar with him. Maybe you can return him to what he was. I just don't have a lot of faith for it. He is literally the first percentile in strikeout rate. Literally the worst starting pitcher in terms of striking people out in baseball. That's not great. His walk rate went up to be below average. And then what really concerns me, if you just look at his pitches, everything with expected slugging starts with a 4. His cutter starts with a 5. Maybe you can turn it around. He's a fifth starter. I get it. I don't know. I think I'd almost rather have AAA relief or AAA prospect before Eric Fetty, but maybe he's just here for April. This signing doesn't necessarily kill you.
He might not even made out of spring training.
Well, that's just it too. Yeah. I would be a little surprised because they did give him $1.5 million. Now that shouldn't really hamper them too much. Maybe he goes to AAA, accepts an assignment from there, and he can be depth there. I get it. I don't know if I would have.
And I understand where you're coming from, but just keep in mind there is also the how do we leverage him as a 7th, 8th inning guy.
Sure.
Keep that in mind as well. So
if
we don't know what that looks like.
What's his fastball velo is 93 on average. He might get to 95, depending on what he is. Also, what does his body do with switching to a reliever? Can he do back-to-back? Can he can he warm up in 10 minutes or in 5 minutes when it hits the fan? That would be interesting, but it is what it is. I think I would have probably targeted other people for $1.5 million,
Jose
but
Quintana.
There you go. I don't know. It is what it is. I almost would have preferred a prospect for that fifth spot, but I get it. It doesn't really hurt. And if you turn him back into 2024, I'll eat all my words.
I'm going back to this episode, making a note to myself now.
Oh, well, good. Any other news for Chicago?
We did get rid of Brian Hudson for cash to the Mets. That's a nothing burger to me.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't like he did a whole lot. So we'll move on to the Twins, who I think are just trying to see how many left-handed major leaguers they are trying to acquire. That was a catty little tweet from Aaron Gleeman, because over the last week they have signed Andrew Chafin to a minor league deal, and they traded for Anthony Banda, who is a reliever for the Dodgers. The Dodgers DFA'd him. And honestly, this is how disgusting the Dodgers are. They DFA'd this guy who's had a 3.18 ERA and a 3.08 ERA with them. That is disgusting by them, but I guess whatever, the Twins will take it. They traded, it's not fake money, but they traded international pool money. So it's not even cash considerations. It's money the Twins were going to spend in the future later this year. So, but with that said, he's probably their best reliever in the bullpen, depending on what you think of Cole Sands. The problem is he has an 840 OPS against righties. He's a left-handed thrower. In their bullpen, but Bond is going to make it because they just traded for him, and he's making $1.5 million. They signed Taylor Rogers for $2 million a couple weeks ago. Cody Funderburk had a nice stretch at the end of the year last year. They have four, I guess, options. You could argue the quality of those options, but what is really kind of interesting about this specific trade is that the Twins don't really have a good right side of, like, a good right-handed reliever. Cole Sands and Justin Topa are probably leading it, which makes me think they're going to do something really weird with this bullpen coming into the season, but we'll talk about that as we get closer to it. But with Bonda, fantastic against lefties because he has a slider that just kills. He throws it 50% of the time. You can definitely tell when he got traded to the Dodgers around here. They basically said, just throw your slider. I don't care what else you throw. But he throws the slider 49% of the time. It has an expected slugging last year of 312, expecting batting average of 163. His sinker and his four-seamer get hit a little bit, but he does pretty all right. But also, keep in mind, they're shielding him against righties. So this is really just against left-handed pitching. So who knows what they're going to have to do. I kind of suspect he will be like their fireman. I don't know what they're going to do with Taylor Rogers. Taylor Rogers probably should be the second lefty in a bullpen at this stage in his career. This would make Bonda the first. This sounds really pathetic, but Taylor Rogers might also be a candidate to be the closer at age 35. So if that's the case, then you don't really have a second Taylor Rogers can't be your second lefty, and then you have Cody Funderburk. So Bonda, I guess, kind of connected dots. But really what they did, they just need to elevate the floor. They just need talent in any way in this bullpen. Bonda does that. It's fine. I think if they had a better I think if he was right-handed, I think I would be really, really excited for this pickup. But he's not. So in the other news, they signed another old friend, Liam Hendricks, to a minor league deal, which, if you would have told me that Taylor Rogers and Liam Hendricks would have been in the same bullpen in 2021, and that this was happening back then, I would have been ecstatic. That would have been a buzzsaw to go through. 2026, we'll see. He's coming off of shoulder surgery, I believe Hendricks is. He still, when he was with Boston last year, he still threw 95, 96. If he can still throw 95, 96, he's probably also competing for the Twins closing role, which is probably the reason he signed for them. What is interesting about him is, I think I've said this story a couple of times, but he was brought up and developed with the Twins. He then got his brains beat in the first 60 innings with the Twins. They just cut him outright. He bounced around for a while, came up with Oakland, and then became maybe the best closer, one of the best closers of his generation. And 10 years went by, he's signing back with the Twins. So I guess it's kind of cool. I hope it has a good ending for him. He did have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'm sorry for pronouncing that incorrectly. A couple years ago, he is an inspirational story. I just don't know what he has left in 2026, but we're gonna find out together.
Look, Eric, I'll tell you this: he has more than enough to be on your Minnesota Twins for the 2026 season. So.
You're not kidding me. I think that was really. I'm surprised minor league deal is what he took, or I'm sure he has a split contract because Andrew Chafin, who I just talked about too, it did come out today. He has a split contract, so he'll make $2 million with another $1.5 million in incentive. So I'm gonna guess if Hendricks makes the major league roster, he will make $5 million instead of the league minimum. Who knows? He probably also has an opt out. Who really knows? But
I really hope for both your case and mine that he does make the major league roster at least for a month. Happens to find himself back in Chicago, that would make me
sure. I mean, if he still throws 95, 96, he will be on the major league roster. The Twins have no one.
Easy to throw 95, 96 when you've thrown less than 19 major league innings in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's been real. real rough stretch.
Serious health issues, not just baseball related. You mentioned he had lymphoma, so I'm not faulting the guy necessarily, but is the durability there at this point is a major question mark.
I was like, if he makes it all year on a season or on a roster, he will be a strong candidate for whatever comeback player of the year you want to choose from. The results would almost be secondary, but we'll see. I'm hoping for it. Let me tell you, if Jeremy Zoll, who just took over from the Twins, can duct tape and band-aid this to a functioning bullpen, I'll give him GM of the year. But we'll see. It's a lot of scrap heap piles or signings right
I
now. Twins.
I like Bonda. He was a
Yes.
legitimate piece for the Dodgers, and I think you can't pick which arm he throws with, but I think for the Twins, that's a situation where your bullpen is so poor. This guy's too talented for us to pass up. We need to be the team that trades for him, and I
Well,
have to figure the
essentially,
Dodgers. The Dodgers only didn't get more because everybody knew they needed to offlet somebody from their roster, so they had no leverage. So
well, also the Twins because they had a terrible record, they're pretty much they're higher up on the waiver claim. So like they put
yeah,
Bonda, they designated Bonda. I guarantee the Twins called and be like, "Hey, we'll give you like someone else is going to offer you cash considerations. What if we give you international pool money?" And that's
hmm
what ended up doing it. I think there's only like two or three teams. Chicago's one. Florida would have had the option to claim him before the Twins, and the Twins. I think it's a smart move because like it's international pool money. Yes, if the Dodgers, it's $500,000. If the Dodgers use that and sign, the next Jordan Alvarez, okay, I might be a little bit sad, but that doesn't the way international amateur signees work. Whatever relationship they have with these international prospects doesn't mean they have the relationship with the Twins, so they might not have signed that prospect anyway. So it's going to be
agreed.
real difficult to tell what the Twins would have done with that money anyway.
Yeah,
So
you can't say, oh, the 500,000 that we gave them was going to. Yeah, you can't
yes,
really.
you can't equate it to this direct player. Yeah, I like Bonda a lot. He was shielded against righties. He has an 840 OPS against, and I think he has a 640 OPS against lefties. Like I mean, if he can have a 750 OPS plus against righties, I would be ecstatic. And this does make the bullpen better, undoubtedly. This seems more like a specialist role than it would be like, oh, this is the seventh or eighth inning guy. You're going to have to keep the lineup into consideration when you're warming him up.
Agreed. He's there to get out Riley Green and Kyle
Yes,
Manzardo and Vinny Pasquantino and
Jose.
Ty I'm blanking, but you get the point. You flip Jose to the right side, yeah, all that stuff.
I know,
So,
but
I like
isn't
how you
Jose a
kind of
better
skipped
left-handed
Manzardo
hitter?
in there.
Isn't he better from the left?
oh, I'm gonna mess this up. I believe he's a better power hitter from the right side, but he's a better coverage hitter from the left. But don't quote me on that. I'd have to
We
go
need
look at
more
the
switch
numbers.
hitters in this league. Switch hitters
Yeah.
are fun.
They are fun.
You know about that, right? Right, Ty? You do.
Funny. Did we talk about that?
I need to bring it up at some point. I was saving it until we talked to the off season, but it's like
Ty, do you want to talk about this story, or would you like Lee to get off the giddy horse?
The White Sox general manager Chris Getz happened to slip 4 times that a player was switch hitter, not just a right-handed hitter, and I don't know. What do I
Yeah.
say?
It
What
was
do I
also a player
say?
he had just traded for, like had made the
Like,
decision to acquire.
so the thing is, like, I've seen all the way from like Chris Getz is the worst GM ever for not knowing it. I've seen like who cares? Honestly, like I don't care either. It is what it is. Like if he did get swindled by the Mets, like good for them. We don't have to deal with the guy getting hurt this year. Like I don't know. I think this is more than what people are making of it. If this was like, if he was saying this about one of the, like, I don't know, one of the best free agents we signed this year, I feel like that'd be a bigger story. We pulled someone from the Mets. he might have heard it somewhere. Someone might have given him the wrong information, and then no one corrects him for some reason. I don't know.
Right. Well, like now, I took this. I didn't realize this was becoming like an actual like vengeful thing in Chicago. I thought this was a fun story. Like
I
I
have no
didn't.
clue.
They traded. I think like the inflection was they were so concerned about getting Robert off of the roster that they didn't care what they got back. I think
Give me
that's what
something.
they were trying to accuse him of.
Yep.
But who cares? Like, he just got this guy. I did like, so Chris Getz did put out an actual statement, which I thought was really funny. He
I
starts
called
off with,
him.
yeah, so this is a quote. So I've probably been getting carried away with describing his versatility. He can play every position on the field. Why does it have to stop there? I called Luis Angel and told him that even though he's just right-handed, that we still love him.
That's very funny.
And you know what?
That's well handled.
I don't
Yeah.
think he cared. He was like,
He shouldn't.
"Sounds good. See you in a couple days."
Right.
No, I realistically, he just like had a brain fart and just slipped up. I was thinking of someone else. It's just very funny. It's just
Lee, you mentioned
Luis
that.
Angel.
I did see, and I saw. I don't know if it was a Reddit thread or what, but someone said that there's someone else on the Mets that is very, very close to Acuna. So like, and he's a switch hitter. It was just like, oh, was that the original guy we were gonna get? And then I don't know.
no,
I
it
could see
doesn't
Luis
really mean
Angel
anything.
being like, I could try to hit from the other side.
Honestly, like at this point,
Do you think he was like he heard about it and had to text him and was like, "Look, I'm not a switch hitter."
I was curious. I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic here, but we were talking about Jose a minute ago. I got curious. I looked, and I'm full of it apparently. But career OPS versus righties for Jose Ramirez is 857 against lefties, 856.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
The man
Doesn't
has no
matter.
holes.
Well, whatever.
He's a natural righty, right? Or have I got
Yes,
that?
that I'm certain of. Yes.
Okay. I always forget because I just remember myself.
oh look at me, we have a cornerstone player who can do good OPS
do
on both
everything.
sides of the plate.
Okay, well, we've had our fun with Chicago. I also, don't worry, they've also misspelled Murakami's name wrong on his player roster.
That was no. Remember, our spring training facility is shared by the Dodgers. I don't want to hear it. That was
Sabotage.
It was an intern. That was an entry level person that just went and Googled the name. They're like, "Who do you want me to put up a nameplate for? Who?"
So you're blaming the Dodgers.
No,
I think
it's
the
just
Dodgers
someone that's
sabotaged
not
it.
affiliated
Yeah, I
with our
know.
organization.
Well, we hit a nerve. I didn't expect to do that.
Anyway.
I like it. Anyway, don't worry, the White Sox are putting bidets in their locker room because Murakami didn't really request it, but like, I think he must have went to the bathroom and he must have said something like, "Are there no bidets in here?" or something like that, and the White Sox just did. Like, which good for them.
He
The
just like,
Twins,
I feel dirty, and then they're
yeah.
like, "Let me fix that."
right? The Twins built a nap room for Nelson Cruz when he signed with them in 2019.
Worth it.
They
Can I
built
just
a nap
say-
room,
Yeah, so what
or
he did,
there was a spare room somewhere in the facility that like
That's
they
his
weren't
room now.
using. So.
oh no, Nelson Cruz's routine was he would take daily naps. And with the other teams he played for, he had a designated nap room, and he asked, it must have been Derek Falvey at the time, what can you do for a nap room? And I guess Falvey wasn't ready for the question. He goes, "You know what, Nelson, we'll get something done and they just built a soundproof room for naps."
That's pretty cool.
Can I also say on the bidet thing? This
Yeah.
could be a longer, like, hey, like, let's be strategic about this. Let's say Murakami really likes it here. Let's say Murakami has some friends. Just saying,
Hey,
direct
I got
flights
good
to
bidets.
Japan.
Reach. Yeah.
Just saying.
That's gonna be the thing that really. I wonder if the Dodgers clubhouse has bidets. Okay, we're getting way off track. But
I don't know. As long as they're not using them as water fountains, they'll be all right.
We are having a Hello Kitty night, so for people interested in that, Come on down.
This has been a weird 5 minutes.
Anyway.
Can we just accept this has been a weird last 5 minutes of the show? Like, we've talked about nap rooms, bidets, switch hitters, and whatever. So anyway, let's get this back on track because I don't know where this is going. I forgot what we were last talking about. I think it was the Twins. Their bullpen sucks. Let's move on. We'll talk about the Royals. They just traded for Mitch Spence, who is really just a fungible depth reliever. We don't need to spend an awful lot on this guy. What I did look at his Savant page earlier today. Let me just pull it up. I don't think he's going to be in the majors that much. His expecting batting average is way too high. His fastball and his cutter and his slider, which he throws 65% of the time between those two pitches, gets hammered. His cutter has an expecting slug of 544, and his slider has an expecting slug of 513. Those aren't great. Probably don't want him anywhere near a lead or a close game. My guess is they might be looking at his curveball that it looks like he just started, that he's thrown 17% of the time. If I was Kansas City, I'd maybe think of doing something with that a little bit more. But other than that, that's Mitch Spence. I wouldn't expect to see much of him after like maybe a seventh or an eighth guy in the bullpen. But I guess I couldn't really tell you what the bottom half of the Royals bullpen looks like. The top half looks pretty decent with Strom and Strada now, but this looks like depth to me.
Did they also just not end up making pitchers better sometimes? I'm just saying.
Well, there's that too. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Either they're going to suggest to him a new pitch, or I think they're going to have to focus in on that curveball because that slider cutter combination ain't doing it for him, or at least it wasn't last year.
Well, the cutter wasn't getting the batting average wasn't too bad, but the slugging was ridiculous. So maybe they can.
I mean, yeah. What was the batting average?
The slider.
253. Expecting is 265. But yeah, I'm going to assume when the slider doesn't slide, he just probably leaves it right in the middle of the plate
because then it just goes over the fence.
So who knows? Maybe they can tweak it and go from there. Kansas City certainly is known for developing pitching, or at least the last couple of years they have been. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And then finally, Cleveland. They didn't make a move, but
I had forgotten some small moves that they made over the last couple of weeks that I should probably address real quick. A couple of guys that I talked about earlier this offseason, if you've been listening, around like arbitration and non-tender deadlines and things like that. Kobe Allard, who was on the roster last year, mostly as a relief pitcher, had a very strong sub-3 ERA, left-handed, pitched in long relief mostly, a little bit of starting, and then a couple times, came in high leverage and actually looked pretty effective. He was signed to a minor league deal this past week, and like I said, he had a 2.63 ERA and 65 innings last year. Good ad, low risk ad. They gambled at the start of the offseason, hoping that he would kind of not catch on somewhere else, and he didn't. So sorry, Colby, that was the case, but they're bringing him back with open arms. Adds to the depth of the bullpen that they've continued to accumulate over the course of this offseason. And then the other individual I want to mention is Ben Lively, who is another exact carbon copy situation, other than the fact that Lively is injured. He had Tommy John surgery this past season. He will not pitch in 26. The Guardians seem to love paying guys to rehab. They've done it several times now. I think they're pretty good at it for what it's worth, but this is actually a 2-year minor league deal. So they're not just paying him to rehab. Presumably they're going to have him for 2027 as well. Lively was excellent in 2024, ate a bunch of innings, kind of came out of nowhere after being somebody they had kind of gathered from Korea. And he has an ERA plus of 111 in 38 starts over the last 2 years. So not like, not Tarek Skubal, but solid, effective, could end up being a nice long-term play for them in the long run. So I did want to address those real quickly. A couple minor moves that happened over the course of the last about week and a half. That being said, the kind of the larger news that has really nothing to do with the play on the field, but that occurred over the course of the last week is we got more details on Emmanuel Clase and the scope of what he's being accused of and what he allegedly may have done in terms of the gambling scandal. So the exact information is that he is now being accused of rigging 48 pitches over the course of the last, I believe, 2 to 3 years, including a pitch in the playoffs against Detroit. I believe that was this year. It couldn't have been this year. It had to be 2 years ago. My bad. He didn't pitch this year.
24. It was
Yeah, it had to be
apparently
24.
people think it was game 1 when he came in when you guys were up like 7-0. There was like a ball spiked 20 feet out of the plate.
Exactly. A couple of things just a couple more thoughts. We've kind of talked about this multiple times. I'm not going to dwell on it too long, but I can't imagine how incredible Emmanuel Clase could have been had he not been purposely trying to throw a ball every so often, with just how good he was as a pitcher to begin with. It kind of boggles my mind a little bit. Beyond that, on a more serious note, I got a feeling this guy's going to do jail time. Like, forget playing again, forget anything related to the sport, but I'd give it like a 2 out of 3 chance that Clase is behind bars at some point in the future. It keeps piling up. This is a federal case. The feds don't typically, bring a case against you unless they feel pretty darn sure that they can sell their case to a jury. Does not look good. And then the last thing I want to mention is, as far as we know, this case, the scope of what Clase's alleged wrongdoing is throwing these purposeful balls for these micro bets that are out there, where you bet on the first pitch of an inning. There's a lot of people on the internet with imaginations running wild that, he was throwing games and he purposely pitched poorly against the Yankees in the ALCS and this and that and the other. As far as we know, none of that is true. It is 0% true to any of that. The crummy thing, and the reason why this can't stand, and the reason why there has to be zero tolerance about this kind of thing, though, is this allows people's imaginations to run wild in the first place. This opens up the door of, well, if he was capable of doing that dirty thing, what else was he possibly doing because he was doing that? And I've said this before, I'll continue to say it. If he's found guilty, he needs to be, fullest extent of what can be done as far as punishment. Bury him under the stadium for all I care. But maybe not really. That was metaphorical. But you get my point. This can't stand.
See the Teamsters boss.
I wanted to address that point of, like, as far as we know, it's just the first pitches. People like to go a little crazy.
I want to reiterate, like, your main point, like, what I hear and what I sincerely believe. If he did do this for however long, and once again he was as good as he was, like, what if he wasn't doing that? Then is he that much better, or is he just wasting pitches he knows he can waste? And that's just part of his game at this point. I don't know.
It was so bizarre because he was like, his reputation as a pitcher was like, he pounds the strike zone. Like, maybe he throws too many strikes because he doesn't strike out as many guys as you would think a guy who throws 100 with a cutter with movement would strike out. Like, so I think that also kind of works against him in this case, where he's missing by 3 feet every so often, always on the first pitch of an inning.
And he did have kind of a high walk rate, but I can't imagine throwing one bad pitch intentionally really made that much of a difference in that.
I'd have to go back and check the walk rate, but I don't think it was that high.
In 25, it was 2.3 walks per 9. In 24, it was 1.2, and in 23, it was 2.0.
Okay.
So that's like kind of on the high side.
What this tells me is you just had a bad strategy. Like, if you're going to try to wiggle yourself around these rules and stuff, this is not the way to do it.
Also, he used the worst coded language I've ever seen. I mean, come on. Very, very lame, not very coded messages, if you've seen them.
He's tried to claim that he was talking about fighting his chickens or whatever, which, whoa, that's not
Yeah,
mean,
that's not.
it's a
It's
different
not a,
crime, but it's
yeah.
still a crime.
I didn't commit murder. I was too busy robbing a bank.
Yeah, basically. Um, the actual news out of Goodyear, Arizona, where the Guardians have their spring training facility, is everything I just mentioned about Allard and Lively. That's it. As far as I know, Chase DeWater, at the start of this taping at 6 o'clock on Sunday, November 15th, 2026, Chase DeWater was still in one piece. So we got that going for us. And oh yeah, and the other news was CJ Kafis is now CJ Kafis, not C.J. Kafis. That's the biggest news out of Goodyear this week. So um,
I did see a
which is
couple of Cleveland fans on Twitter retweeting that with biggest offseason move. It was,
it's
yeah.
up there.
They removed the dots. Yeah, sadly. We'll go into that in a bit. Okay. Any other news for Cleveland?
No, sir. Thank you.
So I think with that, at the start of the offseason, we did a free agent pick'em, and let me just pull that up just so people can kind of see what that looks. We just graded, or we just picked players we thought our teams could sign, and we made a little bit of a game out of it. So we're going to look at this first, and then we're going to go into just like what each team did with the offseason, including going over their payroll, their acquisitions, their subtractions, things like that. But for only getting like 4 or 5 of these right, I think we did pretty good on these. So just to recap, Lee had 2 correct guesses. She had Kyle Finnegan signing with the Tigers. Nailed that one. Well done. She also had Austin Hayes signing with the Guardians. Well, he didn't sign with them, but he did sign with the White Sox, so she didn't get a point. So how the point system worked, if you got the correct player and the correct team, you got 3 points. If you just got the correct player and they signed within the division, you got a point. So Lee got 4 total points. The Kyle Finnegan one, I think, was probably predictable, but she nailed it.
Hey, easy points are easy points.
Also, I just want to call out, Lee did say she had like 3 honorable mentions that all did sign in division. So
I had Lane Thomas to the Royals as like my number 6, just for.
I had Taylor Rogers of the Twins as like one of my cuts too. So I get you. Dan did not do so well. Just a big goose egg. Was really banking on Cedric Mullins playing for the Guardians. I think he signed with someone else like 2 days after we dropped that episode,
Tampa Bay.
then nothing else happened. Ha-Sung Kim didn't sign. Yastrzemski, Rob Refsnyder, none of Brad Keller, none of them in the division.
Can I just say I'm glad the Tigers didn't sign Ha-Sung Kim because he's injured for the first like 3 months of the season.
Yeah,
So
I saw that.
But Dan, we did all sign people like these people, so like, you know, you can sleep at night.
Don't try to make it better. That was a poor showing on my part. Disappointed in myself.
Sam tried putting it out into the universe that Cody Bellinger was going for the Royals. That didn't happen. He ended up re-signing with the Yankees. Zach Gallen was a free agent up until 2 nights ago, where he's re-signed back with the Diamondbacks. Ryan O'Hearn signed with the Pirates. Adam Frazier signed with the Royals, correct? Didn't he get through? Why do I not remember that? And then Ha-Sung Kim, again, going to the Guardians. That clearly didn't work out, but I think
Adam Frazier is still a free agent.
Oh, well, never mind. I must be thinking of someone else. So Sam also has a goose egg. But Dan, yours was a much, much better goose egg.
I mean, he could still get Adam Frazier back to the Royals. So.
And then the winner so far, assuming none of these things. I accurately predicted and boldly claimed that Josh Bell was going to sign with the Twins. I believe I even said, this is never going to happen, and this would be a dream, or I'm going to reach for the stars that they were going to sign Josh Bell, and they did it. Mike Tauchman, still unsigned. Would love to still see him go to the White Sox if he doesn't mind. Andrew Chafin brought me over the finish line because he has been a target for the Twins the last 3 years. He signed a minor league deal yesterday, so that's 6 total points for me. Max Kepler was busted for PEDs, so he's not going to play for the first 80 games.
Forgot about that. That happened.
Did anyone hear what he got busted with?
I don't remember.
It was clearly a Pete. Well, also I do like that he didn't send out the cheesy quote that said like, I didn't actually take this performance enhancing drug. It was a blah 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 blah. He just basically stayed silent, but he was injecting himself with non-human injections. It was for cattle, muscle growth for cattle and livestock.
Oh,
That's what he was injecting himself with, some Joe Rogan shit. Didn't seem to work out for him. Did not work well in Philadelphia at all. So, good job, Max. I think your career is probably over. But also, he's a fairly handsome man. He's made about $50 million in the majors. I don't think he's the type to like grind out a 10-year career or a 20-year career. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just done. He can go back to Germany and do whatever he would like. And then Shota Imanaga ended up signing back with the Cubs, I believe, and not going to the Tigers. Ty, making a late push, had Liam Hendricks going to the White Sox. He signed with the Twins. Michael King, I believe, went to the Padres. Verlander signed with the Tigers, which I'll be honest with you, Ty, when you said that, I kind of rolled my eyes because I didn't think, there's no way. And then Nathaniel Lau and then Jose Quintana both did not sign with the White Sox, even though I believe Quintana is still a free agent.
Colorado Rockies. It hurts.
Ooh,
it hurts
okay,
so bad.
So
he was going through something at that level. Why weren't you there?
Close enough. He's distraught. So I will take our inaugural Pick'em award, and when who is it? When Michael Lorenzen randomly signs with someone in the division, I'll be a little sad because Lee will win again. But
he's at the Rockies.
Oh, did he sign? Okay, good. Ooh,
yeah.
Boy, I don't like that for him at all.
I'm just hoping he gets at bats. I'm hoping he gets at bats because it'll be fun. Why not?
Team Italy listed it in the WBC.
It's also just interesting that we did get. I mean, we got a total of 7 players, right?
We nailed 4 of them. Like we got 4.
I don't know. That's pretty cool to me. I don't know. You know, end of the day, it's just a game, but
success rate right there. Getting 4 of them exactly on. That's 4. That's pretty good.
Well, especially a lot of them, like there were relief pitchers, but like to me, if you wanted to, that would have been my strategy. If we would have put money on this, I would have just banked on relievers. But we picked a fair amount of position players or like starting pitchers. So I don't know. Yeah, good for us. So, all right. So now let's get into it. So we've gone all off season. Like we said at the start, catchers and pitchers have reported. Spring training games start in the next 5 days, so we can officially grade, or what we believe officially grade what each team did for the offseason. We're going to go in reverse division order, so we're going to start with the White Sox, and then the Twins, the Royals, Tigers, Guardians, and we're just going to give a grade at the end of it. So we're just going to talk about the free agent pickups, the subtractions, and then who they picked up for trades. And then I do want to talk about payroll because I think it certainly I'm probably too obsessed with payroll, and I will openly admit that, but I do think it does show what front offices have for resources at their dispense and what they have to work with. So for those who disagree with that, deal with it, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, the White Sox, first up. Last year, they had a record of 60 and 102, but that really there's a difference between first half White Sox and second half White Sox. They lost Tyler Alexander. That was their sole subtraction for the rest of the sum.
Step in there, Eric?
Yes.
We also did have Martin Perez, starting pitcher, who did get injured during the year, and he re-signed. He signed with another team as well. And then I don't want to count it, but Savale as well.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I forgot about him. I just went on Spot Rack and went on the free agents released or whatever it is. So it says this is players who were on the roster until game 162 and then were DFA'd or released after that point.
No worries though. Anyway, so yes, we didn't lose a lot.
Nope, one guy, Tyler Alexander. That's it. For additions, though, this is a much longer list. So this is at the top. This is the major league signings, and then the bottom is the minor league signings. Just assume if there's a name that you have seen or you have heard of before, expect them to be a non-roster invitee. So whenever you guys see a name that you want to talk about, feel free to. But yeah, Ty, talk about their free agent signings.
Do you want me to give my grade immediately, or
No, we'll talk about it at the end.
okay? Starting off, I did this exercise myself within the last week or so. We improved our relief pitching. That was one of our targets for this offseason. We got Kay, we got Newcomb. They could both end up being bullpen pieces. They could be starters. So we'll see what happens in spring training. We finally fixed that. Hey, we went 15 and 36 in one run games. We signed Sir Anthony Dominguez. I think it was a pretty exciting splash for the White Sox. As we discussed, Eric Betty coming back on a 1-year deal. So hoping we can recapture some of what he got in 2024. And then Austin Hayes, we didn't have an outfield. Now we kind of have an outfield. So not the worst thing ever. In terms of the minor league signings, I will just call out. So Elko, he was previously on our team last year. He had some time, his cup of coffee in the majors, if you will. He had a 1.1.2 OPS in AAA, and then it just could not translate it to the majors. He is recovering from a surgery, so I'm hoping that he comes back and gets back to his prior form. I'm very interested in what Kelenic does. I believe he was with the Braves at one point. Sounds like a defense first outfielder. So it'll be very interesting to see if he ends up with the club at some point or out of spring training potentially. But I very, very happy with the amount of how active we were in the offseason.
Yeah, I wanted to. This one name kind of pokes out for me too. Is way at the bottom. I don't. It might be a bit of a reach, but Lamont Wade Jr. He was on the Twins he was brought up and drafted with the Twins, and then was traded over to San Francisco, I believe, for a reliever. He's kind of a unique player. He has a very high on base percentage, light power for someone who plays right field and first base. He's also like 5'10", so not exactly what you would expect. I'm going to assume he's a bit washed, but he could maybe find a role on this team. I think he still has a little bit of speed if the on-base skills are still there, or if pitchers can just decide that he's not really a power threat, so they can just throw gas past him. They might do that, but that's just a name I thought was worth mentioning.
I will say that Lamonte Wade was, to me, when I saw that, it was our Ryan Noda signing of last year. We're trying to recapture something that I don't think we're going to recapture or, make him better. I didn't mention our biggest free agent signing, so it's bad on me. Murakami, once again, in that final couple hours of the posting window, we somehow came through and signed him. I think we've talked about it ad nauseum, but very excited to see what he can bring over. It already sounds like he's making a positive, influence at spring training. So very, very excited to see what happens with him.
Yeah, I mean, he really is kind of like the X factor in this free agent class. If he's really good, this makes the class look really, really good. If he doesn't, then you're really relying on Dominguez and probably Newcomb to kind of carry the load, and it's hard for relievers to do that. It's possible.
Right.
But, I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what he does, because we've talked about it quite a bit, but Murakami could be absolutely nothing. Or he could be another Jose Abreu.
Can I just put it out there that even if Murakami is nothing, as a Sox fan, and I know this just tells you how bad we were last year, I'm still very happy, even without Murakami. Like, the fact that we were active, the fact that we were getting guys that know they might not be the same guys that the Yankees would be signing, but we have a ball club this year,
Right.
We shouldn't lose 100 games, and I can't state how important that is.
No, I think there's something to that. I mean, like we had, I kept joking like throughout the off season. Why are the White Sox having such a good off season? I mean, there's something to being very active, right? Like when you're a team that was this bad previously, doing a lot of things is encouraging, because even if half of those don't work out, half of them would still work out, right? Like just, you're trying. They're trying lots of different things and seeing if any of these guys will contribute towards growing a little bit more.
Great point, Lee. So that brings us to, I believe, our trades. So here, major trade that occurred once again was Luis Robert Jr. going away. You'll notice that there is a Ronnie Hernandez and a Gage Zeal. I honestly don't know who these two were. But and cash considerations, that name comes up a lot. I think if two of the players in our trades work out, that would be perfect. I just, when we're looking at David Sandlin, should be a piece that we see either late this year, early next year. If we never recapture Jordan Hicks and how he used to be, wouldn't surprise me. And then Acuna ends up being a Larry Garcia. He's the utility guy, plays wherever, hits, does everything. Then that's going to be okay. I do believe we also have Pereira with a potential chance of making opening day center fielder if things go right. So I won't discount him there.
I mean, that's personally the name that I gravitate towards, but that's also because he was a top 100 prospect for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
it's a good outside.
We have a lot of those, Eric.
I think that's where. Well, I mean, there are the Jordan Hicks and the Eric Feddes aside that I'm not as impressed with. A lot of their signings or acquisitions raise the ceiling.
Agree.
Now, their floor might be a bit rough, but if things click for this team, like they can turn it around in a hurry. Like, we can talk about like projected records maybe by the end of the offseason, and we're going to give a grade here, but they're going to have some upside, and they already have some young prospects who have some upside. Like, improve the ceiling and to see what you have, and then improve your floor. I don't think that's a terrible strategy.
And to piggyback off of that, I just want to clarify. We know, let's just put it on the spot. White Sox don't make the playoffs this year. I still think this was the trades, the free agent signings, everything was good for where we're at right now.
I think for the White Sox, if the goal should be young guys continue to improve, Murakami turned out to be something, and finish in 4th place, and that's a successful season. I think that's safe to say for that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, the payroll on the bottom, you'll see that they had a total tax payroll of $90,000. This year, it's at $105,000. What I also say, what's going to be a little weird when you look at these, Spotrac adds player benefits. So whatever the payroll is, subtract like 18 million from those from that. So when it says like projected payroll space, it's probably going to be closer to like 120 million, something like that. So when you look at these and they look a little weird, subtract 18 million is what I ended up having to do. But they added $15 million total to to their payroll. I mean, it's still 26th in the league. Let's not get like excited over that, but it is up $15 million, and they do have players on the books for next year too. So they also traded away Luis Robert too, which does help them.
And they did use all of that money. When you look at the money that we had and spent last year and what we got, the value we got for it, I'm very happy with where they're at. Unfortunately, yes, they are 26 in payroll, but at this point, I don't expect anything more. I really don't. I believe right before the final push of minor league signings that we were 29th or 30th. So the fact that we're ending at 26 doesn't surprise me at all.
All right. So now why don't we can now grade the White Sox. Sam is not here, so he's giving an incomplete to everyone. So he can update those if he would like. But Ty, why don't you go first since it's your team?
As much as my bias wants to say A, I think are we doing pluses and minuses? Just making sure.
Whatever you want, man.
B plus. We tackled almost everything we needed to. The only thing that would made this an A is if we actually had we know exactly who's going to play center field this entire year this year.
Lee.
I will say a B minus because what they did in quantity they don't really have in quality. There's too many. A lot of these guys you really don't know what you're going to get out of them. There's a lot less assured. So there's not really a guy who said, "Oh, he's going to have like a 3.5 ERA with 25 starts." It's not really he'll hit. Don't know about his power, but he'll hit 250. There's just too many of these guys. It could be anything. So that's why I kind of dock them for that. But they did have a lot of quality, a lot of quantity. So B minus.
Dan.
I think I'm going B minus as well. I'm not convinced that Murakami is going to be. We don't know what he's going to be, and that could very well be a 0, as you were saying earlier, Eric. It may not be 2, but I think there's some legitimate holes there that he might not end up being as good as some people may think. The trading of Luis Robert, while I understand why they did it, the timing to me it just felt odd to me that they would sell low on him as opposed to maybe play out a little bit of the season, see if you could get more for him at a later time. Yeah, they've done some good things. I like Dominguez, and I do agree that this kind of raises their ability. They're getting closer and closer to legitimacy, but ultimately there's it's good effort, good moves, but I do think there's some flaws.
No, I'm going to go with just a B. I'll split in between everyone. I think if where they're at with their competitive window, this is a good offseason for where they're at in their rebuild. They didn't sign the biggest names, but they did take some swings. Jordan Hicks, I'm not a huge fan of that, but I guess if you can turn him around, you can have at least a decent bullpen with you have, who was it, Leisure and Vassell, Dominguez,
Yep.
King, Michael K. There, you can make that a decent bullpen, and then Jordan Hicks can be on top, some cream on the top, I guess. But their floor is kind of scary. But I still like what they did because they have to raise their ceiling. Let's take a couple cuts. It's only 1 or 2 year deals. This does not bury them by any means long term wise. I think it was just a really above average offseason for them.
Got no one on the books after the potential strike. Final comment.
Next up, we'll talk about the Twins if we have to. So Minnesota ended last year at 70-92, and much like the White Sox, completely different team from the first half to the second half. They were a decent to bad team in the first half and a horrendous team in the second half because they had 40% of the roster traded away, including their bullpen. This looks like a lot of names, and there are some intriguing names on it, but they're 2 big free agent signings, Victor Carantini and Josh Bell. Josh Bell's probably their best value that they got this year, 1 year, $7 million. He's just been a 1 year mercenary for teams the last 5 or 6 years. I like the pickup. I think they especially got him in the first half of the offseason. They were looking like Cody Clemens was going to be the first baseman. I was kind of horrified that, if anybody remembers at the beginning of the offseason, he is a switch hitter, which he is a switch hitter like him and Carantini, which anyone who is not left-handed in this organization is a plus that they can add to the lineup because they need to get rid of some effing lefties in this organization, but they refuse to do it. Carantini, they signed as a 2-year deal that gives them a little bit of backup for Ryan Jeffers, who's going into his last year. I do think that's a pretty good little battery to have Jeffers and Carantini. They're basically the same player. Jeffers has a little bit more power. Carantini has a little bit more defensive flexibility, even though he probably isn't like stellar defensively at first. He can still play there. It's a good sign. I mean, they're both good signings. What is like baffling is that the Twins traded away 5 good relievers at the All-Star break. And their response to that was Andrew Chafin, Taylor Rogers, and then a couple of guys we're going to talk about on the next slide with trades. And then you have to look at the minor league deals. Julian Merriweather was a decent reliever for the Cubs a couple years ago. Dan Edavila's bounced around. Liam Hendricks, Eduardo Salazar, Jose Quintones. I don't know. That's formerly decent relievers a couple years ago, and Taylor Rogers for $2 million. Just doesn't really do it for me. Other notable like minor league signings, I don't know who Giovanni Urshela is, but Gio Urshela, who was with the Twins a couple years ago, signed a minor league deal. He's probably washed. He had a really bad year with Sacramento last year. Orlando Arcia, we talked about him very briefly. If people remember him, he's been in the majors for 10 years, mainly with Atlanta. He is famous because he was caught on a hot mic, basically making fun of Bryce Harper, and then Bryce Harper cooked him the next game and stared him down in the coldest photo you've ever seen. Yeah, I don't know. Is there any other names that are sticking out to anyone on here?
Altavilla, he'll be in your bullpen within the first month.
Yeah, it's a low bar.
He did very well for us last year. I have no reason to believe that he wouldn't do the same.
Yeah, I know very little about him other than like has minor league experience. And honestly, if you are a veteran reliever and the Minnesota Twins have not at least called your representatives this offseason, maybe quit. Like, it's probably done for you. All right, next up, the trades. Again, not an impressive list, but there's names on here. Anthony Bonda, we just talked about. Jace Kamitska, he is a single-A reliever who has some upside. Well, he's a starter right now. He throws 98 coming off of Tommy John surgery. This could be a decent pickup for them. A couple years down, they traded Edouard Julien and Pearson Ole for him from the Rockies. Other than that, it's really waiver claim pickups and cash considerations for the most part. Kristen Gray is going to fight for shortstop. Eric Wagaman, Alex Jackson is like their third catcher on the 26-man roster. We'll see. And then Eric Orzi is the other relief pitcher that they traded for. Earlier this year was one of the first couple signings that they had with the Rays. We'll see. I don't know. Like, they've made moves, and some of them I think are decent moves. It's just not the moves I think I would have made. Yeah, this is accurate. They lost no one except for Christian Vasquez, because they had no one to really lose. Because, like I said, about 1,000 times since it happened, they all left at the trade deadline, anyone that mattered. And then their payroll, which I have gone over ad nauseum, so I'll keep it brief. Their payroll is closer to like 102, 105 million, somewhere in that range. Again, Spotrac likes to add in the player benefits. That gets divided out $18 million between the teams, or per team. They are 23rd in the league in payroll. Last year they had 139, so yet another payroll cut to the roster. This is now the third year in a row. So I certainly hope that the Pohlads are making their money after they pay off their debt. So with that, we can go into their grades. I'll go first just because I'll be kind of curious what I don't want to be. I want my opinion before I get like persuaded by you guys. I mean, it's an underwhelming offseason. You could argue that they checked boxes they needed to check outside of the biggest box they needed to check, which is a right-handed reliever. But they did pick up relievers. They do have enough minor league free agent guys that they might be able to do something. So this might be a bit, I don't know. I'm not impressed, but I also think it's not the worst I've seen. So I am personally going with a C minus. And then whoever would like to go next.
Eric, I'm going to tell you that there are 5 teams in a division. There are 4 teams that I genuinely believe I know what they're doing and where they're going. The Twins is not one of them. With that in mind, yes, signings were made, signings similar to the Sox in terms of minor league deals and all of that. I do like the Altavilla. I do like the Hendricks. It's going to be an interesting season. I don't think it's just something we can just throw away. A lot of the kids are going to get some time. I'm going to go with the D.
That is fair. Dan.
There's a couple moves here I like. Carantini, I think, is really interesting. I like that move even more if it maybe leads to Ryan Jeffers being traded for things of value. I have to add things of value because of this front office and their recent track record. I like Bonda, as I said earlier. I think that's a really good move. But ultimately, beyond just kind of the lack of resolving right-handed relief help, the amount of dysfunction. I'm going off the board here, and I'm going to acknowledge the dysfunction of the Twins front office. And that alone, I think, is very troubling and problematic and concerning. And for that reason, I'm going to give the Twins a D as well.
I thought that was leading up 2.5.
Ooh, not a Dan. we can't give them a Dan. I don't think you want to go there.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I'm glad because I was worried I was going to be being too harsh, but because I hate this offseason for the Twins. It's disgusting. Look, when your best signing is Victor Carantini and Josh Bell, what are you doing? This isn't. It just from what it looks like on the outside, right? Like I talked about the White Sox, and like they did a whole bunch of moves, but you can kind of see where they're going. But the Twins, I don't know where they're going with any of this. It just seems kind of a mess, and it doesn't make any sense because, like you said, they got a bunch of relievers, but they didn't get like any quality right-handed relievers, which is something they need. They didn't. So I'm giving them a D as well. It's just, what are they doing? I don't understand what the goal is. They're giving very mixed messages.
Nope, I think that's fair. I'm also not surprised I was the only one that gave him anything above a D. I was in my mind, it was a coin flip between a D plus and a C minus. I went C minus because whatever, I'm a little hopeful. I think Josh Bell has been a positive hitter. Carantini is a good signing. Bond is, there's 3 or 4 guys that does actually help the team. It's just the strategy, like you guys are saying. It just seems like there's no strategy. They're just throwing darts up against a wall at this point.
Eric, the one question before we move forward, and I'm sorry if I've asked this before. With the justification that you went with a C minus, does it really matter that they didn't do a lot? Are the kids like? I believe Luke Kuchal, are they going to get a lot more time this year?
Yes.
And is it worthwhile time, I guess is my question.
We'll see. I guess it's worthwhile for the prospects that they need to play.
Okay.
Is it worthwhile for Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan and Byron Buxton, Ryan Jeffers? That's probably a different question.
Thank you.
But who knows? We'll find out together. Next up, we'll talk about the Royals. So Sam isn't here, but I think they had a decent little offseason. They lost Yastrzemski, Michael Lorenzen, Hunter Harper, Taylor Clark, and MJ Melendez, who I still cannot believe got a major league deal from someone. That is disgusting to me, but good for him. They lost Yastrzemski. That does kind of hurt. And did anyone think they really lost all nothing earth-shattering to me?
I think the biggest one is Yastrzemski, to be honest. But they essentially replaced him in Lane Thomas, functionally. Yeah. So I don't think it's I mean, if
agree.
anything,
Yeah,
losing these guys is a benefit.
I feel like their offense looked a heck of a lot better with Yaz at the top of the order.
Mhm.
We'll see if Lane can replicate that. I'd rather have Yaz than Lane Thomas if I'm somebody that had Lane Thomas.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's other than that, nothing else lost really.
I see aging veterans and I see people who didn't perform. That's it.
And we don't have a candle for MJ Melendez because this will be the last time we mention him probably.
We're gonna need to find a new guy to do
He'll
this.
find a way to come up.
Oh, there'll be plenty. Like someone will pop up that'll be candle worthy. Okay, free agents. Oh, good lord. I remember liking their offseason. I know they made some trades. We'll do that. But I remember liking their offseason a little bit more than what is actually being shown. Lane Thomas, Aaron Sanchez on a minor league deal with a flex contract, and then Alex Lang. Really just a lot of minor league deals. Not much of substance here. I'm kind of disappointed with that.
The John Means ones. I like that.
Yep, John Means.
Alternatively, the Guardians had John Means, and they gave up on him, and that tells me something. If the Guardians gave up on him, on the other side of things, I mentioned it I think last week to Sam, Eli Morgan, really good relief pitcher for the Guardians in 2024. Was hurt last year with the Cubs. I'd watch out for Eli Morgan. I think he could be in the Royals bullpen sooner than you think.
I will say nothing jumps out on the page, but I will say that a prior version of me playing MLB The Show would probably have a very similar offseason.
And do nothing. What a very boring
Kevin
way to play
Newman,
the show.
John Means, come on. Anyway.
Fair enough.
I do want to point out that John Means won't be pitching this year because he did tear his Achilles back in December. Because that's a 2-year minor league deal, so it'll have him for 27.
He's got Alex Cobb disease.
God damn it! Is that going to be a thing? Are we just going to keep bringing that up?
It's a me thing for sure.
All right.
Okay. Next, they traded for Mitch Spence the other day. We just talked about that. Matt Strom is probably their biggest acquisition. Not Pat Mears. Goodness, that was a reliever for the Twins in like 2002. So sorry about that. Isaac Collins, which I do like that pickup quite a bit. They traded for Zerpa, and then Mason Black traded to San Francisco. I really like Strom. Just because him and Valdez, I think, is kind of scary dealing with in the 7th or in the 8th and the 9th. Collins, pretty good value. I mean, Zerpa, I was never a huge fan of him. Maybe I should be, and maybe the Brewers will turn something around with him, but seemed like a decent pickup, especially considering they had a black hole in their corner outfield spots. It just seemed like it'd be a really good, effective plug. Anyone else? Okay.
I mean, I kind of forgot about most of these because they were forever ago. To be honest.
The Royals moved early, and I think that's why back when nobody was doing anything.
That's why we thought they were doing so good.
Right. I think we're all like, oh my God, the Royals are going to be like a dark horse. But no, they
I have to say, Eric, you mentioned it. I've had it in my head since the trade deadline that, wow, the Royals are really making some moves to really raise their floor, if nothing else. And now I look at this today and I feel a little underwhelmed now, actually, looking at the results of what they did. They're putting a lot on hopes that Isaac Collins and Lane Thomas are going to be good in their outfield.
Yep.
I do think that it'd be difficult to be worse than they were offensively in the outfield last year, but it feels like there's a little bit of meat left on the bone that just never got resolved. And
Well,
No, that was. I remember. I was looking at this and I'm like, I remember liking this more than I actually do now. Just
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it feels like, what we didn't show is extensions. So when we get to Cleveland, sorry, that's one notable admission that we don't have.
it's
They
gonna come
did
up.
sign Garcia, but like also they're going to have him anyway, so that doesn't make the team better. It makes their long-term outlook better, but it next year doesn't do anything. They were rumored to trade Bubic all offseason, and it just never kind of happened. I guess in the season they extended, oh my God, who's the old pitcher? Lugo. Yeah, I mean, I have the same feeling you guys had. As I remember thinking this was more impressive in, I don't know, December when they traded for Strom.
For a team that went 82-80, this is not the offseason.
Yeah, I mean they're fine. I think they're decent. I thought the moves they made were fine, but
But
yeah,
they're not playing for the playoffs.
no.
That's I don't know.
Well, they're relying on the players that they have. They're that starting
Compared
pitching
to adding, yeah,
to keep
right.
it. Yeah. Well, that's they did. They maintained their payroll. If anything, like they extended Garcia. That's not going to necessarily show up in this year because he was already pre-arbitration. They're going to prorate that out. But I don't know. 17th in payroll, I think, is what. That's a. I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, Kansas City's
Central?
market is probably what, the 20th in baseball, 17th in payroll. That's decent. I mean, minus 18 million for the player benefits. You're looking at that 160, 165 range. That's fine. I don't have any issues with that.
Yeah. They didn't decrease their payroll, which is more than what we can say for other teams.
Right. I believe this is probably, I think it's, I mean, 17th is an average payroll, right? Because it's, there's 30 of them. 17th is close enough to the average. But,
And most of their payroll is between Witt and the pitching staff, right? And Pasquantino.
arbitration for
Perez,
Pasquantino, right.
20 million or something.
Perez,
too?
yep.
Okay. So
They
it's
do
like
have,
you're locking a lot up. So I don't know. I like it.
There is, but like it is, I'm not a huge fan of the Seth Lugo extension, if I'm being honest with you. Just, they have a lot of money tied up in guys that I think could just fall suddenly. And I can say this because Sam isn't here, but there's going to be a point where Salvador Perez is not a productive major league player. And is that this year? I hope not, because I like watching
Let's be
him.
honest. Half of last year, he barely was being
Right.
very productive. Like the first half of the season, we're like, "What's up?"
Right. So, I mean,
There was a point in time when Austin Hedges had more home runs than Salvador Perez. It was like 3-2.
All right. Grades. Does anyone want to take? I'll go first if nobody wants to, but I
No,
don't know.
I'm just gonna read what Sam said because he did give a little. He just said in our Discord earlier. My grade for the Royals offseason is a B minus. They found an answer for the outfield situation, but not the one I wanted. So go ahead and put that in.
A little B minus.
Yeah, why is that so tiny?
It's a baby B minus.
Boy, this is gonna look really weird then, considering what I think we're about to grade. So, I don't know. Dan, why don't you go first because you haven't done that yet?
So I was prepared to give them like a B plus and A minus. I'm underwhelmed, but it's not going to go that far down. It's going to be a B minus. I am going to use in my rubric. I'm going to use extensions. Sorry, guys, I am. And extending Pasquantino, extending Garcia, I think are good moves. Strom, along with Urseg and Estevez, that's going to be a great bullpen. It's not all bad stuff. And maybe Thomas and Collins work out. It's still B minus to me.
Dan, you're allowed to have your opinion, but this is the free agent, and ultimately, what did you do this offseason? And keeping players on your team is good. I agree with that. Once again, going back to this is an 82-80 team in an AL Central, which no offense, Lee, no offense, Dan, no one division any year, or at least it hasn't been for a while. I would be sincerely disappointed as a Royals fan. I go with a C.
Yeah. Lee?
Yeah, like Dan said, I was prepared to give them a lot higher grade, but looking at it, I am whelmed. It's not very impressive. However, I will say they did cut a lot of the dead weight. Right, they got rid of MJ Melendez, everyone's favorite punching bag. They added some marginal upgrades for their floor, and I'm gonna count extensions as well, Dan. I think that's very fair in terms of what the offseason did. I'm giving them a B, to be honest. I mean, it's a low B, but like honestly, not bad because they had a lot of things that could have gone better more their way last season. So I kind of see the stand pat, just get rid of the dead weight, and add in a couple guys to fill in the massive black holes they had in the outfield.
Can you explain to me why a low B is not a B minus?
Well, because it's like a 84, right, rather than like an 86. So it's a little bit of a difference.
Fair enough. Ty, I'm so glad because everything you guys just said, I was ready to like give them a B all day, solid off season, hit some holes. They did, but I'm just kind of like I kind of thought this was more. So I'm going in the C range. Only I am going C plus. Yeah, I don't know. I really thought that it was better. Instead, it was only like 10 names. All right. Moving on to the division win. Oh, wait. Not that
Hold
one.
on, though.
The second place Detroit Tigers.
Ooh.
Their notable subtraction last year, they were 87 and 75. They have lost Paddock, Jason Foley, Jose Urquidy, Paul Sewald, Akil Baddoo, Andy Banez, Alex Lang. Lee, which one of those hurt?
Wow.
Andy Ibanez hurts most for me, just because partially out of just nostalgia, or just because he had that really big hit against the Astros in the wild card round, so that kind of sucks, but like it needed to happen. Jason Foley also kind of, because he was so good. Like in 24, he was our saves leader. So both of those kind of sting a little bit. And I liked Lang. He was never really that good, and he had injury issues. But I'm not particularly going to miss them because I think the team is better with some guys that we have to replace them. It just sucks to kind of see them go. We also did lose Justin Henry Malloy. I think he was DFA'd at the Rule 5 or at Rule 5 or something, and then picked up by like the Rays or whatever. But he's not on that list. But I forgot Paul Sewald was on the Tigers. I'm going to be honest. He made like 2 appearances for us.
Lee, I want to reference back to a comment you made earlier about cutting the dead weight. The fact that all of these players signed 1-year deals is very telling to me. Mm-hmm. I think you guys are okay. I think you're okay.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah, when the last guy you're cutting off is Andy Ibanez, a guy who plays multiple positions and has pretty good slugging against lefties. It's like, okay, so the bar is being raised higher in terms of staying on the team. So, yeah. Free agent signings, this is where it's exciting. Because the big one, with a big old $115 million right there, Framber Valdez, which big deal, right? You thought they're going to have to starting pitching, but did not expect to get this big of a name, I guess, in just terms of like, because names aren't everything, but like also he was one of the top rated free agents on the market for a reason. So I think that's a very good signing. And then just we talked about Verlander earlier. Gleyber Torres being back, I think, is kind of an underrated move that people aren't really talking about quite as much because he accepted the qualifying offer, but he was so good for us last season. He was one of our best hitters. He started the All-Star game, and but he just had an injury at the end of the season, which really put him down a little bit. But I'm excited to have him back because he has a very good understanding of the strike zone. I think he adds to this team. Kyle Finnegan, he's the one guy that we got at the trade deadline that I'm glad we kept. So Drew Anderson's kind of a deal. Back when we thought that was going to be the only starter that they signed. I mean, he could be a starter, but he's probably going to end up in the bullpen. Kenley Jansen, a really good relief pitcher signing. I mean, we could realistically have 3 guys in the bullpen who can come out in the 9th inning now. So I think these are good signings. I mean, the big thing missing there in terms of what this team needs is a right-handed bat because we didn't really get any of those. I mean, we got Torres back, but that's not really adding to this team.
Didn't lose Torres,
We just didn't lose him. We didn't add a right-handed bat. So that's
But
kind of
with that note, like I feel like Detroit is definitely like top of the hey, we're gonna add someone at the deadline that's
Yeah.
going to make us like bring us from here to here. We're just gonna kind of play around with with the peasants for the first couple
Yeah.
months.
Right-handed corner bats, are easy to find at the
yeah.
trade deadline, or
I
at
don't know
least
if I said this when we were talking, Eric, on Tuesday, but I think they're looking at it as look, they definitely need pitching. Let's load up on pitching. We don't know. We got all these, hitters, young hitters that could develop into being something, and they could not. It's a lot easier to get a decent quality bat who will appear in playoff games at the trade deadline than getting a starter who will make playoff starts at the trade deadline. So I think that's kind of just I'm hoping at least that is going to be the plan to get a bat, just get a guy who hits a 110 OPS at the trade deadline. Should be easy to get.
And I'd also like to say on free agents, I mentioned earlier that like Kansas City, I don't think that they did the free agent signing that they should have been for the team they are. Free agents for the MLB, for the Tigers, this is exactly what they should have done.
yeah, there's a lot of. And also, I should also say I had to split this list up in two. This is just the major league contracts. This is their minor league. We're gonna talk about that in a second, but these were the names we cared about. Also, I don't know why they're not counting Flaherty as a qualifying offer, but
Because he wasn't a qualifying offer, he was a mutual option.
Oh, fair enough. So, yeah, I mean, I'm probably naive for this. I'm not concerned about the Tigers' offense. I know they're streaky. I know that there's holes in that lineup. To me, the pitching was the bigger question mark, and I don't think it was particularly close.
I think it's more likely that the Tigers offseason that the Tigers offense would be a top 10 offense than it would be a bottom 10 offense.
Right.
I think if you weigh those odds.
I mean, Verlander and Jensen are certainly risks to be nothing, but Verlander's depth, Jensen isn't. He's going to be relied on probably as a closer, but at least like they have some backup pieces if they add. If anything, it's just depth. Valdez is obviously the best. It's the biggest name that the division has signed this offseason. It was Tarek Skubal in like a big drop off, and I couldn't get over that. But now adding Verlander and Valdez, and I even forgot they signed Drew Anderson. Honestly, I don't know what they're going to do with him. Is he the fifth starter now? Is he the? I don't know.
I think he's going to be the bullpen. I think he's going to be the sixth guy. I think.
Could also be $7 million in AAA, but he's not going to do that. So, the minor league, there's so many names here. I don't know. Lee, pick like 3 of these names if anybody sees anything.
Yeah, so Sean Gunther and Tyler Madison, those are both guys that were taken off the 40-man, and then we re-signed them to minor league deals. Tanner Rainey is another guy for that. Austin Slater is like the one bat that we signed, which that's really a nothing. That's Manny Margot last year, essentially. That's if we have another outfielder apocalypse, he'll be, he'll fill in. It's like he could compete for a spot hypothetically during spring training, but realistically, he will make a 15, starts in the August when there's like a random injury. So it's just a lot of relief pitching.
13 pitchers. I just counted.
Yeah, it's a lot of pitching, and most of these will not be making major contributions to the major league team. It's just going to be a lot of depth at the AAA level.
Okay, trades.
This was nothing. This was Chase Lee needed to get off the roster to make space for Kenley Jansen to add to the 40-man. So it was I like Chase Lee, and I wish we could have kept him and traded like Drew Summers or something, but like whatever. It's really not that big of a deal. Jonah Simon is going to run like AA or something. I don't really care.
Okay. And then finally, this is stark.
Yeah.
So this year, payroll is going to be around $218 million. Last year, it was 169. They added a cool, what is that, $60 million on top of their payroll? And not a lot of long-term deals. I think like the quick math tells me Flaherty, Torres, Skubal, and Verlander and Jensen. That's like $80 million that comes off the books at the end of this year. So like they're definitely going for it this year, but it's not like it hurts them long term. But I would be excited in Detroit to see like, oh, we can get up to 236 as a payroll. That's exciting.
No, this is very unexpected. Like the amount of jokes that I saw were like, was Chris Illich visited in the night by three ghosts or something? Like what changed for us to suddenly start spending money? Because I mean, I mentioned this last week. Scott Harris has kept saying that they're going to spend when they see a competitive option. I guess I think this is it, right? Like this is the biggest payroll they've ever had. This is the first time they're in the top 10 payroll since 2017. We are currently spending more than the Guardians and Twins combined. Our starting rotation is getting paid more than the entire Guardians roster. Like, we're suddenly spending money, which is very exciting. So even if hypothetically a couple of those deals don't work out, they are willing to spend money. I think this is a clear indication that the front office is not as incompetent as cheap as we thought, which is just a huge boost for Tigers fans. So
all right.
For grade, I kind of went back and forth in this because I don't want to be too biased. So they went, I'm going to say, they filled some very obvious needs. They got good relief pitching. They got good starting pitching. The thing that they didn't do is they didn't really add to the offense, which is something that could have been done. The best, like I said, the best bat they added was Austin Slater, right? Even if they just done like a little bit. And also, I have to dock them because of how badly the Skubal arbitration was handled. So I'm giving them a B. I think that's fair, because I do like the signings that they did.
Really?
And a couple of them don't really make sense. I think there are things that they could have done better.
Lee, I gotta say, what does it take? One or two players, one or two things. What gets them to an A in your mind?
If they had signed Ha-Seong Kim, I mean, I know he's injured, but if they had gotten a bat that will be expected to play at the major league level, I think that would have been. If they had not taken Skubal to arbitration over $13 million, that would have bumped them up to a B+ for me.
So you think the Tigers had just as good of an offseason as the Royals?
Okay, maybe I should knock the Royals down. Is that what?
I'm not trying to knock, but I think the Royals. I think your grade was fine. I think this is.
I've knocked her.
I think this is a little harsh for the Tigers, but it's your grade.
I mean, maybe I put the Tigers at a B+. I think the Tigers definitely had a better offseason than the Royals, but I don't think it's.
Right. Why don't we finish and then we can come back to you? Of us, I think you are the least decisive. So
okay, go ahead.
Dan.
So my thesis has always been that the thing the Tigers needed to improve most was actually their bullpen. I've said it a bunch of times. Starting fifth, I think, was fifth for Detroit last year. So it was good. They added Kenley Jansen, and I think retaining Kyle Finnegan was a really strong move. Then they also resolved their Tarek Skubal insurance problem. And I don't mean that literally. I mean, they found a guy that could be the ace if Tarek Skubal happens to not be on their roster next year, which I think also a very strong move. I don't know who's going to play shortstop for this team. Could be Javi Baez. Could be Kevin McGonigal. Could be Zach McKinstry. Could be a bunch of guys. But I think that's a kind of a question mark. So I don't think this is a perfect offseason. Additionally, I agree with Lee that they completely mismanaged Skubal's arbitration. And again, offer 21 instead of 19, and you probably win, in my opinion. But overall, it was a really good offseason, and it pains me to say this, but I'm going to give them an A-.
Dang. Okay.
They did two of the three biggest things they needed to do.
Yeah.
And the one of the three that they I think they can maneuver around the easiest.
I'm going to keep it short, A- for all the reasons that we've already talked about.
I'm doing the same thing, A-. I don't. They invested when nobody expected them to invest, and in this division, that means something. Like to outspend the division, to have a top 10 payroll in in baseball in this division means probably more than the AL East having a top 10 payroll.
But it's not empty. Like these contracts they're signing are not for bad
Right.
players. Keep that in mind as well. Because
Right.
we've done that. So
Right. I mean, it's not just pure dollar spent, and I'm not trying to tell you like payroll is not the end all be all because we're about to talk about a team who doesn't spend anything and has been quite successful. Valdez, I think, is Valdez alone gets them into a B, and then I bringing in Jensen and oh my goodness, the other reliever,
And again,
Finnegan. What more? Like again, I thought their biggest issue was pitching. They clearly agreed with it, so like I can't really fault them. I think the offense has enough power and does enough damage that you can kind of figure out what you need at the trade deadline. If they do need a shortstop, that's going to be a little scary because there's not too many shortstops that are available at the trade deadline. But if you just need a right-handed bat, or maybe a Kevin McGonigal's ready by then, that works. I think that plays. So I think they had by far the best offseason in the division, which is why, Lee, I'm very surprised you gave them a B.
okay, I'll bump it up to a B plus. Okay, I was kind of going
That's fair.
between those. I didn't want to be.
Don't let us
biased.
bully you. If you
No,
think B, but that's fine.
I think B plus because I was kind of like on the edge between B and a B plus. I do think that I don't know what the Drew Anderson signing is. I don't know what their plan is for that. It just sticks out kind of weird to me, and I do kind of wish they had something on offense.
I wouldn't be upset about having an extra starting pitcher in 2026.
No,
They're
I
alive
just-
and hurt.
It's just weird that they signed that they would rather sign Drew Anderson over Justin Verlander. It's because that was basically what they had said, and so
For
it's
half the money though.
I don't know. It just seems kind of I don't know what their goal is for that. But yeah, the big thing for me is that I do wish they had done something with the offense. Just they added a ton of pitchers, but give me like something a little bit better than Austin Slater. I mean, come on. Do I have to watch Trey Sweeney take at bats
Yes.
for the entire season, or like not to?
Oh, I'm sorry. You have like 6 or 7 above average hitters in your
no.
lineup, and you have to watch one bat. Oh, my heart is bleeding for you. Poor Lee.
All right, you guys
Damn.
are dick.
Yes,
I would
Lee.
just like to just. How much are whatever go.
Anyway,
I'm gonna talk myself
Troy
into-
Sweeney aside, let's talk
We got
about the
something that'll
Guardians.
cheer you up. Lee, let's talk about the Guardians.
Yeah, this
This
might
is an
be-
embarrassment. I'm gonna be honest. The Guardians offseason is embarrassing. I'm not just saying that to be mean either. It's legitimately awful.
Thomas didn't offer anything last year. Whatever. Junis was a legitimate relief pitcher on this team, but I think they found one that was better than him. There's, of course, somebody else that's not going to be on this roster that isn't listed here that we talked about earlier. The one that really makes me scratch my head here is Sam Henches. I talked earlier about how the Guardians love paying guys to rehab. They paid Sam Henches to rehab last year, and he's going to be healthy now, and they don't have. I don't. That one I don't understand. They apparently think maybe he's damaged goods. I don't know. But he was a really good left-handed relief pitcher for this team for a couple of years, and they just kind of gave up on him after paying him to rehab for a full season.
Okay.
Also not listed there was John Kenzie Noel. And,
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of impact, I get it. I get not listing him here. I get he wasn't that prominent of a player, but from a fan standpoint.
Well, I will say John Kenzie Noel for his impact might be more sentimental at this point.
Agreed.
But
I agree.
we're about to pull up the additions, and it's pretty clear they didn't add to the offense. So, like, that's where I think it probably hurts a little bit more than his actual impact because these free agent signings are just
Lots and lots and lots. So I will say this.
Mhm.
The Guardians clearly came into this offseason thinking they needed to improve their bullpen, which I don't fault them for. He who must not be named is no longer on this roster. They did lose Junis, as I just mentioned. They did some things where I think they legitimately could improve this bullpen. Armstrong has the potential to be a very good signing. He's
Yep.
also 35, so we'll see. But they're paying him less than they paid Paul Sewald last year, and I think you're going to get better production there. And minimum, I think Armstrong could be a seventh inning guy to pair with Gaddis and with Cade Smith. Additionally, they added a bunch of depth that I think they aren't going to sputter out of bullpen arms the way they may have last year. And so I do think there was a thing that needed to be improved there. And I think they did pretty well at doing so. Um, uh, Holderman, Brogdon are the two names I'm thinking of in particularly. Um, Rule 5, add Peyton Paulette, also from the White Sox. He'll probably be on the roster, not listed here. So I do think they accomplished that. And I think it was a worthy goal. Um, should I just keep going? Uh, yeah.
You got
What is not here is kind of what's more telling. And the Guardians were 28th or 29th in WRC plus at the shortstop, center field, and right field positions last year. Additionally, they were in the bottom half in StatCast fielding runs in all three of those stats, or in all three of those positions as well. So they were putrid offensively at those three positions, and they weren't very good defensively either. And they did nothing externally to improve those positions. Zero things were done, other than I think you have Stuart Fairchild on here, right? Yeah, minor league free agent who I don't anticipate making this roster. They are claiming that they talked to free agents, they made some offers, they made competitive offers, and the players that received those offers decided to go elsewhere because they Guardians weren't capable of guaranteeing the playing time because they have a bevy of young talent that they're interested in getting on the field. Chase DeWater, George Valera, uh, Juan Brito, a couple other guys we'll mention when we do season previews coming up. I think that generally makes some sense, but all three of the guys I just mentioned have an injury history. And I understand wanting to have your young players play when those young players are injury prone.
Mhm.
Man, does it feel better to have some depth around them that is capable of filling in at worst and playing the lead role at best. And they did not accomplish that. And on top of that, they had a bunch of money come off the books this offseason. Even if they just, we'll get to the, go ahead and go to the payroll. Um, Even if they just wanted to go back to last year's payroll, they could have done that. They didn't do that. They didn't even get to that. And so I'm not somebody who takes a lot of stock in how much a team is paying. I think sometimes it's very easy um, to make a connection between payroll and how much you're trying, and I just don't believe in that. But it just feels like a lost opportunity. This team has made the playoffs 2 years in a row. They're 2 years removed from an ALCS appearance.
Yeah.
Last year, I could talk my way around trading Jimenez. He wasn't good offensively. Last year, I could talk my way around trading Josh Naylor. He was in the last year of his deal. He's kind of a big guy. I could see his career not aging well. I cannot talk my way around not adding to known deficiencies on the position player side of the field. And I I will be perfectly happy if Chase DeWater plays 150 games and hits 290 and hits 25 home runs and looks like one of the best young stars in this division moving forward. But man, there's a lot of things working against that being the case, the most being his injury history. And so thank you for letting me kind of get all that out. I just, yeah, it's missed opportunity is the two words that I think sum it up.
I hate this offseason. Absolutely hate it. You
It's
won the
awful.
division, kind like, and I keep saying by accident, but like they through a full season, they were the best team in the league. Whether you do whatever you wanted to say, whether if September was a real thing for the Tigers or whatever, the Cleveland won the division. And for you, it's very Twinsian. Sorry, Dan, to put that curse on you. It's very Twinsian to win the division and then cut $30 million from your payroll. And what is their offense? It's Jose Ramirez, Steven Kwan, and young guys.
Kyle
Manzardo,
Manzardo,
yeah.
I guess. Like,
I mean,
Kyle Manzardo should not be the third best hitter on a major league roster. That's no.
he can be a
I'm
fifth
sorry,
hitter.
he's
Like,
not that good.
he's fine. I mean, he can be a player on a good team. And he is. They won 88 games last year. Like, this is where like the disconnect their offseason versus like Cleveland, I still think can have a good season. But they are walking such a fine tightrope. Jose Ramirez has been great. Jose Ramirez has been incredibly healthy. We just talked about what if Tarek Skubal misses like some time. What if Jose Ramirez misses 2 months? Where does this offense go?
What happens if Steven Kwan goes down? Like,
Right.
you have no replacement. There's no one to back him up.
I mean, I don't want to sound like maybe overcritical. This is a pathetic offseason for somebody who just won the division, where you really could have made strides. And if you would have just maintained payroll and paid 2 players $20 million, that would have been fine. You would have been just over. Instead, you're the 29th ranked payroll. And I'm going to guess they're going to say that the TV contract falling out the same. Well, the Twins had the same thing, but also the Tigers just had the same thing, and they added to their payroll. This competitive offer stuff, I throw it out. You didn't give the money that the players wanted. I can tell you, players wanted the play time, and the Guardians can say like, "Well, we wanted to play our young guys." Well, if they would have offered them $2 million more, I bet they would have signed those players. So like, I get what they're trying to say. I just don't necessarily buy it. It is such a disgrace that they're 29th in payroll and they just won the division. This does reek of, I'm not going to say they're not trying. Cleveland is going to pull another rabbit out of the hat and they're going to do their thing. But man, are they really walking a tightrope? But I'll get off of my soapbox now and let someone else talk.
So what this tells me is after winning the division last year that they technically probably weren't trying to win. This is we're seeing what Detroit's going to do. Well, whatever happens. I'm just going to lay in the middle of the road. I'm just going to, if a semi runs me over,
See,
that's fine.
Now that I don't agree with. I do think, how do I want to say this? Everybody except for ownership is pulling in the same direction, wanting to win this thing. I don't blame Chris. If you know what, and to that point, I'll push back a little bit, Eric. If Chris Antonetti tells me that we made offers and they didn't work out because players wanted to go other places where they're going to play more, he has done nothing in his tenure in this organization to suggest to me to not take that as truth or to, what am I trying to say? If he thinks playing the young guys is the best way to go, well, you know what? He's made a lot of smart baseball decisions over the last 15 years or whatever. I'm going to believe him on that. And you know what? It may not work out, but everybody gets one wrong every once in a while.
I'm not even blaming Antonetti.
Mhm.
I don't think Antonetti had the resources to sign anyone.
I think that's probably valid, and I do think they'd probably use the TV contract as an excuse. I've been trying to wrap my head around what would cause this to be the case in the first place. That's the only thing I can come up with. That the only thing that's different from last year would be the TV contract. That's the only thing I can think of.
And also, Antonetti is not going to throw his boss under the bus. So, I
absolutely.
would have loved to. Like, he has to say, we gave competitive offers and we wanted to. He's going to have to, because he has to spin this to a public who knows it's probably BS because his owner is the one that said, well, we can't spend anything. You don't have 2 nickels to rub together. So, good luck. Hope Jose Ramirez, who, by the way, just signed a contract extension that we've hardly even mentioned, who saves the team money on an annual basis now, and they can't do anything? What the fuck are we doing? Like, I think that's a pathetic level of investment from, and like the Dolans, I'm not a fan of. I'm certainly not like the Polacks are certainly worse. They proved that this last year, and they do hire good people and they get out of the way. But like, why can't you just give Chris Antonetti 30? Just keep the payroll. See what he can do with money to spend.
Why cut the payroll? That's the thing I don't get. Like, why cut the payroll?
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is again, I'm going to take for a moment Antonetti at his word that like we made these offers, blah blah blah. The pool of budget that they were working with was for these guys, and these guys really don't improve us all that much. We really are better off trying to play DeLauder and Valera and this guy and the other guy. The guys that would actually kind of move the needle are over here, but we don't got
Yep.
the money for that.
Right.
So let's just play these guys and hope they stay in one piece. All that said, I'm just gonna say I'm probably gonna give you guys I'm gonna give a better grade than you guys are. It sounds like I'm gonna give them a D plus. I am gonna give them credit for extending Ramirez. Two reasons why I give the Guardians a D plus and I give the Twins a D: the Ramirez extension, and the Guardians organization just seems a heck of a lot more not dysfunctional than the Twins, and so
Sure.
D plus.
Sure. I'll go. I think everyone knows my grade. I will say, like, Twins dysfunction, an absolute thing. This franchise is aimless. They've been stagnant for the last 3 years. All of that is true. And signing Jose Ramirez, who is a franchise icon, a Hall of Fame player, is going to have a statue, going to have sections of the stadium named after him, all of that stuff. That doesn't make next year better when you just won the division. So I'm not necessarily, and they had him next year anyway. So I'm really not giving them credit. I'll give them credit for a long-term outlook. But for this offseason, I have to give them an F. Like, I absolutely hate this offseason. Hate it. Hate it.
I hate this all season for them. I mean, it's awful. Like when your fans are saying the biggest off-season move is CJ Kapis changing his name, like that's ridiculous. Like you're back-to-back division winners, and you cut the payroll by $30 million. Your biggest ad is Sean Armstrong. No, that's insane. I'm not gonna give brownie points for extending Jose Ramirez because everyone knew that was gonna happen anyway. Like I doubt that was a hard negotiation. It's not like they had to really reach into their money bags to.
But I can't say this enough, not to walk over your point. Ramirez took an annual pay cut to make the team more flexible, and they didn't. Now I understand he signed it late in the offseason. Maybe next year they're able to use that money, but like, it is a weird connection in the immediate. Sorry, Lee.
I'm sorry I'm going to interject for a second because
Yeah.
I thought of something. And this is now excuse making on my part. I get that, but like maybe they're saving their pennies for anticipating a salary floor next year. I don't know. Like I know that there'll probably be some time before that occurs, but they're not going to just automatically implement one right away. But I'm racking my brain for reasons why they would cut the payroll. I just want to say one more thing in that we're going to have to do a 2-hour episode where you never hear the end of it from me if the Guardians with this payroll beat Detroit in the division when their payroll is like a third. Lee, you're gonna oh man, just you wait. If that happens, I'm not saying it's likely, but if that happens, you're gonna hate me.
Well,
you're never gonna hear the end of
that. I will walk into the forest and you will never hear from me again.
Also, I think we should also note, I think Cleveland is still going to be competitive for the division.
I give them an F then.
Because their offseason
they didn't
sucked.
need to have a good offseason, then
because it was missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But in what way what on this roster changed that you don't think they could win 88 games again? Like, what did they lose that they're not going to do what they did last year?
Right. Because you're banking on Jose Ramirez you're banking on Quan and Ramirez being themselves. You're banking on the pitching factory being what it is. You don't have depth. Sorry, not you.
Agreed.
Cleveland, they don't have depth really. They have a lot of upcoming, like their farm system is really stocked right now. But you're going to the Twins are relying on young guys right now. Do you want to be in the Twins situation? I'm not saying they're in the Twins situation. Let's not like compare that. But like the Guardians are still a good team because they proved it last year. But on paper, this doesn't look like an impressive team, especially if like they do have a big setback with Quan or Ramirez or Gavin Williams reverts back to what he was 2 years ago. Like there are serious concerns with this roster. I don't know.
I know people use this to like dunk on the Guardians a lot in terms of like they just got lucky. There is some truth to that. There was a lot of luck involved in terms of like little things having to go their way. Sometimes the other shoe's got to drop at some point.
Yes, I will say the
Maybe-
Guardians
maybe
though
the
are
fourth-
really good
maybe
at
the
pitching.
fourth year of them playing this well. Maybe now is when the luck.
Right.
That's not luck, guys.
I mean, that's the same thing. The Rays do the same thing, Lee. And I get what you're saying because like Cleveland is so frustrating to watch because like you don't know how they're one run behind and they're going to have a comeback in line. They have excellent pitching. They're really good at defense. They do everything well except for like home runs and like the stuff that I track a lot of, the home runs, the OPS, that type of stuff. Their pitching always keeps them in games. They're a contact heavy team. Their speed defense, they do a lot of the other things well. They are going to they do overperform their projections every year. But
Year.
I don't think we can call that. I think that is harsh to call it luck, even though I just gave them an F.
And I apologize for getting heated over that. But
No,
I
I
just
think
don't agree.
I think there's a little bit of a lot of things have to go their way. Like
Yes.
they only won the division because the Tigers absolutely fell apart. Otherwise, they don't even make the playoffs. You know, like I don't know if it's making sense. I'm not trying to like dunk on you a whole lot.
You're good.
The offense was horrendous for 5 out of 6 months of the season. They got hot for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they're just going to run it back with the same offense. You have to add something.
Yeah.
But I give them a D-. It's add a starter, add a guy who's going to be playing outfield every day. Do something, but they just added a bunch of relievers who will probably make 15 appearances for each, maybe. Like there's no substance added. They're just hoping to run it back.
Okay. Ty.
I'm really sorry, everybody.
Do it, Ty. It's
Anyone
fine.
listening? Dan, I just pulled up the last 12 years of Cleveland. First, third, first, second,
Yep.
first.
Yep.
Did they have a good payroll any of those years? Did they sign a bunch of free agents any of those years? Maybe here and there, sure.
It was better than this.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
But
They
they
were-
just proved to you last year that they don't need to. I'm giving a B. I don't care.
Whoa.
Oh,
Do you think
Ty.
they had a
Once
better
again,
offseason than they-
I want to clarify. Dan said it. One of the teams in this division that I know is going to make good baseball decisions. And at the end of the day, that means a lot. If that is just taking, hey, Detroit Tigers are falling apart. We might as well just hey guys, we can just turn it up 10% and just win the division. They're like, yeah, I guess that sounds fun, I guess.
Right. So I think there's a difference between making good baseball decisions and not having the resources to make those good baseball. The decisions Antonetti is making right now, and this is me purely speculating, and this is me whatever. So take what you will. He's forced into these decisions. I don't think he chose to have Sean Armstrong as his most expensive free agent player this year. I don't think that was a choice. I think that was dictated from, you have nothing, so here's $6 million, keep the payroll under $100 million, see what you can get. And then the other competitive offers that he probably couldn't negotiate with multiple players over the offseason. Because what if 2 of them accept? Well,
And it's
crap,
not
now we
gonna
got to
hurt
trade
them.
someone.
And it's
I hadn't
not going to
considered
hurt
that.
them.
So
I'm
I don't
certain that they talked to Lane Thomas. I'm certain he's one of those guys that they offered a contract to and it didn't work out. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, I think. I think Adolis Garcia probably fits that bill as well as another guy. Austin Hayes fits that bill as well as another guy. That was kind of the thing they were playing in. And they just went, no, you know what? Those guys aren't interested. Anybody else we try, we'd rather just play Valera and DeLauder and whatever else. So
I think that the issues we're caught up in. On paper, this looks like a bad team, and they didn't make any real good moves. I don't want to say bad moves because they weren't bad moves. They just didn't make any moves. But we're just basing this so much on, well, it's the Guardians. Of course, they're going to pull 82 wins out of their ass. It's like saying, well, the Mets are paying $300 million, but of course they're going to miss the playoffs. It's the Mets. We're just basing it based on vibes of the franchise and history. But if you take away the Cleveland Guardians name and just look at the roster and look at these moves, this is not a greatly constructed team. We're just basing this off of course they are. It's the Guardians. They're going to.
And I would say, like, they have a higher floor. Like, because I don't want to, like, people might see my grades. Oh, I gave the Twins a C- and the Guardians an F. The Twins, at least, like, Twins didn't spend that much. But at least they addressed some holes. I think they should have done more in the bullpen. Cleveland just less than $10 million on relievers. When the offense, to me, is the biggest issue. Like, Cleveland can crap out a middle reliever and a starting pitcher anytime they want.
I think they picked those guys. I'm sure Carl Willis is somewhere doing the hands rubbing meme,
Sure.
seeing that list of pitchers. I'm sure he's got plans for them. But I get your point.
No, like are the Guardians going to have a better season than the Twins? Yes. Was their offseason better? No. It was, yeah. They could have done so much more. Like, they're back-to-back division winners. They made the ALCS 2 years ago. Sign a decent bat in the outfield. Do
Just invest
something.
in the team. You can't tell me that the Dolans have not made money off of this team in the last couple. I don't care about the TV contract is temporary if that's what they're going to throw under the bus, and that's just us speculating why they didn't spend. But you have so many more years of Jose Ramirez being a good, productive player. You just had Antonetti like 2 weeks ago at the extension press conferences. I have no doubt that Jose will win a World Series, which is one of his goals. Well, this seems really weird that you spent bunk on this team, on a player who took a pay cut, essentially. I know you're spreading it around, but freed up more salary, and you just kind of did twiddle your thumbs like, oh, thank you, Jose, for the $10 million more a year.
Like, are they saving to extend Stephen Kwan? Like, what are the moves that they're trying to make here? It's just
I don't think they should extend Stephen Kwan, but that's a whole other thing. We can get into it at a later time. They're trusting that this was ranked the second best
Farm system
by ESPN. A lot of that's position players. A lot of that's position players that are ready to graduate. By God, they're gonna see what. Oh, last thing. If I have to sit here and watch Nolan Jones play right field on opening day instead of George Valera or Chase DeLauder, then I will be upset. Like, if you're saying you're gonna play these young guys, play them.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that to me. Like,
but Nolan Jones is like their fifth biggest contract on the team, so they're probably going to play him.
Ramirez, Kwan,
Armstrong.
Bybee,
Yep.
Armstrong, Hedges, and then I think probably Nolan Jones is 6 at $2 million.
Well,
can I just say one more thing on the whole Guardians thing?
Mm-hmm.
Lee, when you look at the Tigers and them signing Valdez and they're signing Verlander, they did what was expected. They should win a World Series before Skubal goes away.
That's a bit much.
The window is ending.
They've afforded themselves the opportunity to.
Yeah,
I don't think the window is. I don't think it's.
The Skubal window with the Tigers is ending.
I think this is what I think. I think if we're looking at World Series windows, or if you want to do that, I think for the Tigers, 2026 is their best shot. Their shot goes down in 2027 when Skubal leaves, but then it will go back up because we have a lot of good young guys. We'll sign someone to replace Skubal. It's at the end of the day, Skubal still only pitches 1 every 5 games. He's still only going to start 1 out of 3 playoff games. There's still alternatives. It's not like we're losing Shohei Ohtani.
The question marks I had for the Tigers, I don't have for the Guardians. And frankly, like, Dan, no offense to you, I don't care because I know they're going to figure it out. And once again, I know that's a vibes thing, but once again, you look at a franchise that figures out how to do this with minimal resources on a regular basis.
Yes, but this is less minimal. This is 25% less minimal than last year.
They don't need to. They don't need to get away with doing it Moneyball style. Like, they can add more money. They just choose not to.
Ultimately, I know we've talked about kind of the payroll. The payroll isn't the part that bothers me. If they could have found a way to make this roster better, spending $2 million here and $3 million here, and fantastic. It's just a missed opportunity to me that There was clear, evident holes on this roster that the GM acknowledged at the start of the offseason, and they didn't do a thing to improve those things. And so again, they could have paid league minimum. I don't care, but they didn't. They did zero.
That's my thing. Like, okay, you're relying on these young guys to hopefully come up. What is your backup plan? What if those guys don't work out? What if they come up and they bat 180 with a 200 on base and they're absolutely awful in the outfield? What is your backup plan?
Daniel Schneemann and Angel Martinez, just like last year. And hey, we won 88 games with those guys on the roster, so maybe there's a way to get there. But again, I'd rather have had they improved at those positions.
Okay, so we're at 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think that's the off season is done. Pitchers and catchers are good. I think we have games the next time we record, assuming that's next Sunday.
The Guardians play Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so
White Sox and Cubs play Friday.
the Twins have a game they should win because they're playing the Minnesota Golden Gophers, the college team. So fingers crossed, it'll be a close one, guys. Let's hope they can pull it off. I just hope they have a big enough lead going into the 8th inning because I don't think they have the bullpen to hold it down. So, all right. With that, I think we'll let you guys go. We'll talk to you guys next week.